Summertide is already upon the Inquisitor General, though it appears she'll be spared the hot, sultry weather of the south. The subarctic climb of the north means short summers, with temperatures rarely over 80 degrees. Branded buffoon. She's to hire her some Uthgardt muscle, to accompany her for an inspection of the Neverwinter Prison. She flashes his feather token.
I have been waiting for you. I suspected you would return. Do you need me to join with you once more?
Alright, Lilly taking Daelan Red Tiger back into the company for this mission to the Neverwinter Prison. My blade is yours to command.
Yes? Is there something you need?
The half-orc barbarian appears dirtier, like he's been out playing or something. No matter. Inquisitor General Black is simply betting that his savage upbringing, the Runehunt or Runemeet or whatever it was he talked about, killing orcs with tiger claws, makes him well suited to handle prison malcontents and their likely equally savage tactics. Lilly's heard a rumor that the Shadowvars, that's the inhabitants of the Netheril's fine city recently returned if you recall, are melting the high ice, crippling the Heartlands. The high ice is a frozen plain north of the Anauroch desert that stretches farther than anyone knows. Rumors of ice-covered ancient cities draw adventurers to the region, though most do not return. Perhaps it'll be a hot summer after all. The chaos of the Neverwinter Peninsula sounds no less chaotic than when she was last here. The Inquisitor General reports Jones for dereliction of duty, theft, attempted bribery, and insubordination. She claims to have entered the house containing Miaslaznia's Fairblade's tomb, only to find the boy dozing in a corner, asleep at his post. As she approached him, she noticed a curious quill sticking out of his pocket, bearing an inscription and a name, Jacob. She woke Jacob to reprimand him, only to find his name wasn't Jacob but Jones, and that he had plundered the quill from the tomb, from a dead Tyran brother no less. When she seized the quill and confronted him about it, he offered gold, and when she refused, became irate. The Inquisitor General made it clear she expects the Gate Captain to make an example of him. The Mizzenmast merchant grins upon seeing Lilly. A recent customer returned.
Hello there.
Alright, I think Lilly's hoping to maybe trade for a pair of boots here with the merchant at the Mizzenmast.
Yet another pair of red leather boots, the ones blessed by priests of Shaundakul. The Lady of Murder trades one pair for another. There's only 4 other pairs of boots left in the city that she hasn't examined. Well, that she knows about at least. And of those, only one is not a red leather pair. The peninsula, as has been said, is a virtual island to house the Neverwinter Prison. In Skullport, the underground pirate home to the other Mizzenmast, if you recall, there's a prison on just that, an island, called, appropriately enough, the Skull Island Prison. The lonely 2-story castle looms over the southern tip of the island, and surrounding the prison are 7 square towers from which guards can discharge deadly volleys of crossbow fire. The warden of the prison is a Yuan-Ti named Zult Zarm, who commands packs of Yuan-Ti jailers as they're known. Though the prison is unique in that it doesn't house prisoners. The Iron Ring, a consortium of the Port of Shadow's most powerful slavers, rebuilt the prison fortress on Skull Island. Slaves that have been sold and are bound for distant lands are kept there, at the prison, until such time as they can be shipped elsewhere. As they approach the Tanglebrook Estate, Lilly, assuming he's never seen one, apprises her hulking half-orc on the use and benefits of a doormat, in being so kind as to demonstrate wiping her own feet first. Lilly needs some time to herself, and can't imagine how the lady of the house could object to her staying in the master bedchamber. She's dead. Though, no half-orcs allowed.
Yes? Is there something you need?
Alright. I guess Lilly telling Daelan to wait here outside the door.
On the way in, Lilly forbids Daelan to disturb her under any circumstances, unless, of course, a disembodied brain comes walking up from the tunnels below, offering its unconditional surrender. Alone at last, she relishes it for a moment, dreading the days ahead where she'll surely be forced to rest under the prodding eyes of a heavy-breathing and disagreeable-smelling Uthgardt guard. Bones provides a shoulder for his mistress to steady herself as she tries on her new red leather boots. At first, as with all the others, she doesn't feel anything, and so kneels and focuses her mind solely on the boots. Lilly sees a diminutive woman with a familiar, a fairy dragon. She's exploring a tomb, a rune, collecting scrolls, new spells. It's another mage, an enemy, come to slay her. It's a battle of spells. She's victorious and cuts a lock of the wizard's hair and mounts it on a shield with others in a shop, her shop of magical wares. A bell sounds, a customer. He needs assistance. She knows because he's pulling on one of the tassels of hair. Not her old, worn-out boots. She wonders if the boots were part of the spoils of the spell battle she saw, and looks for any evidence of it. Lilly gives Bones a smile and a tiny pat on the head before sitting at the edge of the bed and removing her boots. Bones looks on in jealousy as she runs her fingers through the thick and soft, fine hairs of her glacier snake cover and approaches his mistress's feet. Lilly, with a prodding great toe from her right foot, parts the front of the Black Panther's mouth and glides over a seemingly endless row of sharp teeth until it nestles itself towards the back of his jaw. Between his rear molars and cheek, her second and succeeding toes still without. She closes her eyes and then finally parts her lips to take a breath. A sound rest, and apparently the brain wasn't kind enough to surrender overnight. No holes in the Uthgardt's head,
I have been waiting for you. I suspected you would return. Do you need me to join with you once more?
Alright, I guess letting Daly know that they're ready to leave. And if he fears spiders, he best master it right away. He best know what they're looking for as well. Lily explains. Someone with a hole in their head, who's recently suffered grave memory loss and likely acting strange. She goes on to claim that the prisoners they'll be encountering are the city's worst. Murderers all. And that there's probably entire wings of nothing but unrepentant Uthgardt baby killers. Criminals so vile, in fact, that swift death by orc double axe is almost too kind. They deserve a slow, torturous death if only they had the time. Daelan doesn't appear entirely convinced, but Lily can tell she hit a nerve with the bit about Uthgardt baby killers. That's kind of interesting. Here is a former prisoner, not necessarily escaped. I don't really know if there's any real difference between the two. I guess maybe they escaped from elsewhere in the prison. Alright. I don't think she's particularly worried. I think Bones will just open the attack, and everyone else will just run in. Wow, look at that. He's a spellcaster. I guess they can be prisoners too, but weren't really expecting that. Alright. Magic missile. The concept of torture is curiously absent from Dungeons & Dragons, which is odd when you consider how the fantasy setting itself borrows so heavily from the Middle Ages, a time during which torture was considered a legitimate practice by the courts. Why? Perhaps its sadistic nature is just too mature for the target age, which is 12 or older, I think, for the basic edition. In fact, in 2002, Matt Forbeck and David Noonan for Wizards of the Coast said, and I quote, "The brutality of torture doesn't have a place in a typical D&D game. Generally, if characters choose to use this questionable method to extract information, let a die roll handle it and move on." End quote. Actually went on to recommend that the DM use an intimidation skill check, with every hour of torture inflicting 1d3 points of temporary constitution damage, and granting a cumulative +1 bonus to the intimidation check. Yet later that same year, Monte Cook formalized rules for not only torture and execution, but a slew of other often unexplored topics in the Book of Vile Darkness, an official D&D game accessory, the first one ever labeled for mature audiences only. And no, it didn't attempt to incorporate sex into your campaign like the controversial and clearly unofficial Book of Erotic Fantasy did, which I'll have to talk about some other time. So how does torture work? The victim must be first secured, of course, after which the torturer uses a specific torture device on the victim to gain a bonus to their Intimidate check against a DC of 10 plus the victim's level.
Do as you ask.
But unlike Forbeck and Noonan's mechanic, which will eventually kill the victim,
It is done.
Cook's devices inflict normal damage, bringing the victim to 0 hit points and so to unconsciousness, from which they can be revived for additional torturing. Each time the victim is revived and the torture device used again, the torturer is granted an even greater bonus to their Intimidate check. Of course, the torturer can try to use Bluff instead of actually using the device itself, and similarly, the victim can try to mislead the torturer using the same skill.